As she stomped through the mud, Maria's armored plates that were a little too big for her clacked loosely over her clothes. She poked the squishy ground with her sword as she sang, "It's the best that I can do. I'll do the best that I can do." A song she came up with recently, something to keep her mind off things. It wasn't much, but it helped. Maria didn't stop to behold the towering statue in front of her. She was going to climb it, just as she had ever since she discovered it a few days ago. The stone was wet and slick to the touch. Might not be safe to climb today, but she did. Maria reached and pulled up a few times, then her foot slipped, causing her fingers to grip the rough surface extra tightly, scraping them. Her heart danced a painful rhythm as she continued her ascent. She climbed in sync with her heartbeat, and either it was the exact rate she needed to climb to keep her footing, or it was pure coincidence. Maria was about halfway up the statue now, as tall as maybe her father stacked on top of himself 8 times. Maria's foot slipped again, and her head and then her whole body became weightless, and she thought she fell, but she was still holding on. This rush, it felt liberating, relieving, comforting? No, free. Maria felt free in that moment, where she thought she was falling to the ground. She'd made it to the top now, and clambered over the statue's shoulder. At last, she looked up, staring at the corner of the statue's massive eye on its round, long face. Whatever the statue was modeled after, it was no human, but it was no animal either. It was its own thing. Didn't matter to Maria. It was her guardian, her friend. No one else except Mother ever made her feel like she could be herself and not be ridiculed or... "It's the best that I can do." She didn't want to think about the rest. "I'll do the best that I can do." The song wasn't doing enough to make the goosebumps go away. Maria stood up and unsheathed her sword. "Forgive me," she said, and weakly struck the guardian with a swing that bounced her back a step, staggering her. The surprising amount of recoil made rage well up in her face and caused her head to shake. Maria swung again, less deliberate, more impulsive. It bounced off even harder, but she stood firm this time. She struck again, the sword nearly cut into her cheek, but that possibility made it all the more invigorating. She kept swinging, kept risking being hit, faster and faster. Her arm itself now felt heavier than the sword, but that didn't stop her. It got to the point where she could hardly feel her arm anymore, and all she could feel now was a hope that this outburst meant something, that it would make her forget, that it would kill them, that it would make their voices go away, destroy the phantom pain from the past, so she could sleep again. Her hand ached and made a cracking noise. She dropped the sword, but she wanted to keep swinging. She wanted to feel like she had control over something, but her will couldn't cut through, and the sense of power slipped from her grasp and plummeted off the statue and sank into the mud. Maria dropped to her metal-plated knees and screwed up her face. She crawled over to the guardian's head and curled up against it. Either it started raining again, or she was crying again. Her chest felt so heavy now she thought her body might finally break the stone. She fantasized about the entire statue crumbling and making the ground beneath it sink, and taking the whole world with it. But reality stayed reality. Stone remained stone, and Maria was still Maria. She'd come back tomorrow and try again. Do the best that she could do.